Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lonnie. If you aren't already aware, I am a history ELA teacher at the Farm School, which is a private school in Summertown, Tennessee. And I'm very excited to share with you today a teaching trunk from the West Virginia Mine Wars Museum. I've been waiting on this to come in. I'm very excited. I do have an audience that you can't see behind the camera. Other members of leadership are here. I invited them to this unboxing because I am a dork and we don't know what is in this teaching trunk and we all wanted to find out together. So if you hear some excited oohs and ahs, know that there's a group of nerds in the room with me. The first thing I'll show you came separately. So the West Virginia Mine Wars Museum is an organization in West Virginia that's dedicated to, I would say, the preservation of the battlefield and the history of the Battle of Blair Mountain, which is one of the most important uprisings in American history. It's one of the largest uprisings this side of the Civil War, and it is one of the only times that the United States has dropped bombs on its own citizens. This is a piece of redneck history that I have loved teaching to my high school class. There have been some moments where we've definitely been appalled at the way Sid Hatfield, for example, was treated, or at the way union representatives were not allowed to, for example, advertise to or speak to non-union miners in order to recruit them. My class felt that that was a particularly egregious breach of the First Amendment. I really enjoyed this history, and we're getting a lot of our information from this book. The West Virginia Mine Wars Museum was kind enough to send us a class set. We do have to return them, so we're taking good care of them. But this is Thunder in the Mountains by Lon Savage. One of my students had actually read a portion of this book for a history report previously. And so I was very excited to receive a class set so that the entire class could enjoy it. If you have not read this book, it reads like a movie. It's an excellent history book, and it is all about the main characters and the action leading up to the Battle of Blair Mountain, which happened in 1921 and was largely a conflict between unionizing coal miners, rednecks, hillbillies, if you will. It was what I would call the United States' first integrated army. It was a collection of miners of various racial and ethnic backgrounds. Many of them were immigrants. Some of them were descendants of freed slaves. Some of them were European immigrants. Some of them were Native Americans at a time when the United States Army was not integrated. Although, of course, it was a citizen miner army. So if you haven't read this book, I highly recommend it. I'm gonna move on to the teaching trunk because apparently there are artifacts here and I have no idea what they are, and I'm very excited to open it. My students haven't even got to see anything in this box, and today one of my students said to me, "You mean, Lonnie, there's old things in this box and I can't see them until I read to that part in the book?" So I've been dangling the carrot, getting them excited about their history reading, and now if I can figure out how to actually open this trunk, we're gonna unbox it. It's huge. As you can see, it's a literal trunk. Because there's 200 people who live in our community, we hold our packages at the post office, so I had to go to the post office and pick this up. Got it. The moment is here. The first thing I'm seeing is just a little bit of paperwork, Mine Wars teaching trunks, loan agreement. Okay, so the first thing that we have appears to be a hat, maybe? UMWA 17. So that's the United Mine Workers of America. I'm sure that there's maybe a slip in here that explains what everything is. Taking off this foam top. Okay, ooh, this is cool. Cooking in a Coal Camp by Glenna R. Pack. A cookbook. If you're unfamiliar with that, when people lived in coal towns or in coal tent colonies, of course they had to find different ways to cook for themselves. So we'll enjoy going through that. It looks like appetizers, there's a table of contents, there's like entrees, desserts, soups and sandwiches. That'll be fun to go through. We have a picture next. This is a cool picture. This shows a group of the nurses who accompanied the army, in quotes, of armed miners that marched into Mingo County, West Virginia coal fields in protest against conditions there. The army is 5,000 strong. And there is the image. It's a newspaper clipping. Ooh, do you guys know who this is? Show it to the camera.
Is that Mother Jones?
It is Mother Jones. Yes. If you're unfamiliar with Mother Jones, she was an incredible labor organizing figure and would often come and speak to groups of miners and rally them. Exploring Mine Wars Herstory, Roles and Work of Women. That is the one that we requested. When you fill out your order form or application for a teaching trunk, you do get to choose from themes, and because since History Month is coming up, and because this was an element of the history that I'm less familiar with, we chose the roles and work of women. Here's a teaching trunk condition log, and it just shows you the last person who had it, like a library book. This is exactly what I was looking for. Okay, all right, the Coal Camp Cookbook, it explains that. Mate One DVD, selection of books, American Experience DVD, red bandanas, lessons, photographs, cast iron skillet, nurse uniform, and a washboard. I bet this is part of the nurse uniform, now that I'm going back and looking at this.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, a nurse's hat.
And I think I see the rest of it in there. And here is an actual washboard from that time. And it just says, you know, used by women to scrub laundry, clean in coal camp houses or tent colonies. Obviously, if you've seen a washboard, you know what this is for. for washing laundry, but this one is, I suppose, the type that would have been specifically used in or around coal camps. And yeah, here's the rest of the nurse's uniform. So here's another, like I want to put it on, but I'm not going to. Here's another nurse's hat, UMWA 17. It's a thick, long sleeve dress. I think it's all cotton. I wonder which nurse wore this in a coal camp. This would have been a nurse that's caring for the minor army, because obviously working in a coal mine is a dangerous occupation. Here's her apron. It just has cotton ties that you would ostensibly tie around you. This is a cast iron skillet, like the nurses would have used to make food for the miners at coal camps. So that's really cool. And it's a very nice cast iron skillet. DVDs, and that's what's inside. Super cool. So we have a nurse's uniform, a cast iron skillet, a cookbook, we have an accompanying DVD. This is, I actually didn't know that PBS had made a special about this called The Mine Wars. So we will be watching this. The photographs and the, teaching, like lesson plan information that comes along with it. My students will be extremely excited on Monday to know what is in this box. I don't know how far into Thunder in the Mountains I'm gonna make them read before we actually get to open the box, but hopefully on Monday we'll be far enough in that they have earned that privilege. Thank you very much to the West Virginia Mine Wars Museum. I think that this is an excellent opportunity. I think it's an excellent resource. I'm so excited to present it to my students. I didn't know teaching trunks were a thing. I didn't know that was an idea that already existed. Just the idea that you can go to an organization, get firsthand real artifacts like a nurse's uniform from a nurse that would have been caring for the miners in the miner army. That to me is extremely significant. That's probably my favorite piece in here. I love it all, but that's probably my personal favorite piece. So thank you again. I am super excited for this unit, and I know that my students are too. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. So I'm filming this on a different day because I didn't realize it at the time of this unboxing, but many federal agencies have now banned the observation of MLK Day, Black History Month, Women's History Month. My students and I have been having really good discussions about how there were plenty of companies and authorities who would really rather the American people not know this history about Blair Mountain. And there were people who tried to remove it from textbooks, as you'll learn if you read The Road to Blair Mountain by Chuck Keeney. And to a certain extent, miners were silenced at the time due to safety reasons after the Battle of Blair Mountain. So it's interesting to me that we're looking at the Herstory trunk from the West Virginia Mine Wars Museum at a time when now currently federal agencies are banning the observation of Women's History Month, and especially considering that the history that we're learning was at one point or another also, if not covered up, if not banned, then certainly suppressed. It makes this trunk even more relevant, even more important. I just wanted to comment on that because history class isn't always just history class. Sometimes it's present day class. That can be uncomfortable, but it's important to learn.